Well, I'm Reverend Mary Hawk, and joining me again is Reverend Don Lewis, and it is Tarot Thursday. So, we are here to talk about tarot and answer your questions. So, please go ahead and post your questions in chat, and we'll be happy to pull a few cards for you.
Yes, indeed.
And hi, Caredware. And would you like to tell us how things went today? I believe today was the day of your hearing.
It was indeed. And psychically speaking, I would say that it probably went very well.
That was what the impression we had, but we'd like confirmation. And is Nimue sitting on your shoulder? His black kitten.
Ah.
All
They did receive their letter.
right.
Yay.
Excellent.
We're very glad to
We
hear
are,
that.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I'm glad that Nimue is sitting on your shoulder where clearly she has decided she belongs. Hi,
And hello to
Brian.
Brian.
Happy Thursday. Hope you are having a good evening. And while we're waiting for people to post questions, before we came on, I had asked Reverend Don a question for his take on why Yahweh is generally pictured as a very elderly man when other deities who are king and god, like Zeus and Jupiter and Odin, are pictured generally as vigorous men in their 40s or perhaps 50s.
And
And we
I
were
don't
just
know.
discussing that.
I don't know that I necessarily have a complete answer for that. Part of it is cultural. The Greeks and Romans in particular did not normally think of their deities as becoming elderly. Even when the deity was conceived of as being very old, they were not shown that way. They were not thought of that way. They did not consider aging to be a quality of deity. In Europe, that was not the case. If you look at the Celtic peoples and the Germanic peoples, they did have deities who were portrayed as being older. So that might be part of it, although I believe Jehovah was shown as quite elderly, even in Byzantium, for example. The other thing might have to do with the idea that wisdom and learning were Jehovah's greatest skills, as opposed to being a warrior king. And so that might have been associated more with being elderly. That would be my thought. But when you see, for example, a statue of Jupiter or Zeus from antiquity, if you picture them with white or gray hair, that's not how they were picturing them. They were picturing them with dark hair. And those that still have color attached show that. But when you see modern movies that deal with antiquity, they often will show those deities much older than the people of the time conceived them.
And Brian has asked for a couple of cards. So we can go ahead and do that. Okay. Well, I have started out with the Seven of Lamps here. And of course, lamps is the suit of spirituality and spiritual growth in this deck. And seven is a number that has to do with contemplation. So I'm going to say for this matter, you need some contemplation here. And talking to deity, talking to your guides. Next, I've got the Three of Lamps. And this is about consulting with others and working together. And finally, I've got the Princess of Swords. So you're going to know what action you should take fairly soon, I think, in this situation.
And I have also drawn some cards for Brian, but because the only question here was a couple of cards, it could be referring to an entirely different situation. Or it might be the same, but the first card I drew is the Nine of Lamps. And the Nine of Lamps is finding your power after having had to search for it. Learning more about yourself, learning who you are, learning what you're doing, learning what you're capable of. And so I would say that in the immediate future, you're going to find that to be a major theme of what's happening, coming to a clearer knowledge of you. And with that is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups is influence from the past. Could be a person from the past, could be memories of the past, could be situations from the past, but they're also coming into the future. And these two things together, the return of past influences and greater clarity on self, obviously are influencing each other. You may find in dealing with whatever that is from the past that you're much more in your own strength now than you were then. And then the third card is magic, which is the ability to do whatever you want with it. As long as you're clear on what you want, it will be within your power to do. I'm going to draw one more because, I can never leave well enough alone. And it's even more bluntly saying this involves the past. It involves self-assessment. This particular past card, as opposed to the Six of Cups, it's about the changes that occur with the passage of time and the importance of accepting them and integrating them. As the woman looks at her reflection in the water and sees her former self, she can pine for who she was, or she can rejoice in who she is. And that's kind of the meaning of this card. It's your choice, but rejoice in who you are and let the past be the past. And altogether, I would say that, and Brian says that all makes sense. Thank you, Brian. I'm glad to know that.
Thank you, Brian.
Does anyone else have a request for a question?
So I shuffle up here. Hi,
Hello,
Reverend
Reverend Mike.
Michael. How are you doing tonight? I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Does anybody else have a question for us? If not, we'll make mention that Reverend Don has a new show. You want to tell us about it?
Yes, Midday with Reverend Don, every day at 1 p.m. Eastern. I did the first show yesterday, the second one today. Yesterday, I talked a lot about my experiences as a psychic in past years, and I probably will be talking more about that. I've had people say that they enjoyed the more personal nature of that conversation versus some others that I've had. And today we did a pre-recorded interview with Belladonna Laveau, which I think was a very good interview, very interesting. And, I've had an association with the Aquarian Tabernacle Church going back 40 years. And it's so interesting to see how things do develop. And to see new generations come forward. And it's all very interesting. And Renee, hello Renee, in the chat room, asked
Renee.
what her ancestors have to say to her.
All right. Oh, do you want to go first this time, or would you like me to?
I can go first. And the first card is the Queen of Cups. Second card, the Chariot. And the third card is the Four of Wands. And the Queen of Cups is a card of happiness. And I would say probably that Renee is in a happy position or soon to be in a happy position. And in terms of pursuing happiness, it is important to pursue it. The Chariot is moving forward. The Chariot is also pursuing your own interests. And you can see in the picture in the Chariot is the knight fighting with the dragon, or possibly riding the dragon. It depends on how you look at it. And to take best advantage of the card, you want to ride the dragon. Let it carry you forward. Don't fight fate, but accept it and allow it to do good things for you. And it's followed by the Four of Wands, which is success, achieving something you've worked for. So I would say that you're going to find that what your ancestors are saying to you is go forward without fear, and that you're in a place where you're going to achieve what you've wanted. And I would say that's very good. Let me draw one more because, I can't leave well enough alone. And I've drawn the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords is a situation that can seem like it's a lot of work, but it's totally doable. You can see the man in the picture is charging uphill. You may sometimes feel like you're going uphill, but you are coming up on that which you have desired, what you have worked for, and ride your dragon, and it will work out well. Hello to Bradley, and hello to Matthew.
Hi,
and
Matthew.
It's your turn.
So the first card I have drawn is the Two of Swords. And this card is about cooperation and possibly something that is an alliance rather than a friendship. And we're doing it again. I have the Four of Wands. Last week we kept drawing the same cards. And we're going to do it again. So yes, good things are coming. And finally, I have the Two of Pentacles. And this shows a young man learning how to be a sculptor from an older man, a master and apprentice situation. So this is about perfecting and honing your skills or learning something new. And with Pentacles, this is about the physical realm. So if there is a new skill you've been wanting to learn, or something you feel like you need to work on, now is the time to do it. And if you feel like you need to take a class or find a teacher, Now is a good time to begin looking because that information will come to you. So I
Yes,
hope
indeed.
this helps you. Now I'm going to hold my cards carefully over my deck so if they start jumping again like they did last week, I will not have to crawl under my desk again. And while we're waiting for anyone else to pose a question, when you were working the psychic fairs, did you ever have anyone come and read and they were basically kind of challenging you, like, I don't believe in psychics?
Oh, yes. Um, in a couple of different ways that happened. There were some people who obviously came to be combative. There weren't very many of those, however. In the many years that I was doing the fairs, I only had a couple of them. Um, More often, what you would find are people who appeared to be unimpressed with what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
They might seem like nothing was hitting them. They might seem like they weren't taking it very seriously. And it was not uncommon that at the end of the reading, they would turn right around and say, "That was great." Um, and it was as if they were afraid to give it away while it was happening. That happened a lot more often, but there were a few people who were combative. And there were another phenomenon that happens sometimes is the person who just will not hear what they don't want to hear. And they will do anything to try to turn what you're saying into what they want to hear. And with those people, all you can do is say, well, this is what I'm getting. Do with it what you will, and they'll listen or they won't. Um, and I did have a few people, but not many. Most of the readings I did over all those many years were positive, happy things, but I did have a few where I might have to turn the person away for one reason or another. I had a woman once who would ask the most unethical questions, and ultimately I said, I cannot read for you. These are not appropriate things, um, and it was just unpleasant. But there were very few like that. She might even have been the only one. Um, so there you go.
Let's see. And Brian is asking if you have any tips for reading at a psychic fair because he's participating in one tomorrow.
Focus. Stay focused on what you're doing, and everything will go well. The thing about a psychic fair, and it depends on the individual fair, is that there can be so much going on around you. And if you can focus through that and do what you're doing, that is the best training in the world. Also, I was always taught, and I believe that the readings that come to you at such an event are the ones that are meant for you. Even if they don't seem to go well, they were still meant for you. And what that person needed was what came through to you. And sometimes the person won't recognize anything that you've said at the time, but they may come back later and say, "Oh yes, later that came about." I was telling a story not too long ago about a reader named Deandra, who was prominent in the Chicago area 30 years ago. And I happened to have mutual friends with her, and they had invited us both to Thanksgiving dinner. And during the dinner, our mutual friend Judy said, Deandra, you had told me that I was going to be a grandmother and that my daughter was going to be pregnant uh, right around that time, within about a week of the dinner. But this didn't happen. And Deandra said, "Oh, I must have been wrong." And I've always thought that was the best possible answer she could have made. And she said, sometimes that happens. And the next week, the
Mhm.
daughter was pregnant. Um,
She was off by a week.
exactly. And the time was probably not that exact, But the thing that was impressive to me was that she owned that she could have been wrong with no problem. And that's the mark, in my opinion, of a good psychic, because everyone can be wrong. Sometimes you have a bad day, sometimes it's not a great connection, sometimes something has happened, and sometimes, like this, it just hasn't shown itself yet. And an awful lot of times, you hit exactly what it is, but you don't quite know what it is, and it only becomes clear later. Our favorite story of that was Rosemary Fletcher, who I often say was the best psychic I ever knew. And she did a reading for Edward many, many years ago, in which she described how we were going to have all these media things happening. And one of the things she described was a daily newspaper that would go out all over the world. And those were, I believe, her exact words. But even though this was just a few years before the internet became a big thing, it was not on most people's radar. She thought she was talking about a printed newspaper. But within just a few years, we were putting out newsletters all around the world electronically. And she had hit it right on the head, even though she didn't know how to describe what she was seeing. And that's something that happens in psychic reading, particularly, sometimes the message is only for the client. You're not even supposed to know what it is. And they will recognize it, but you may never know. And you have to accept that. You don't judge the message as it comes through. You let it come through, and it will come as it needs to come. And
Okay,
Brian
and
remarks that sometimes you will get the wrong or a cross message, and that is absolutely true. And sometimes that's because the reader's having a bad day, sometimes the client's having a bad day, sometimes the connection between them is off. And every now and then, one of the reasons you should not read for multiple people at once, um, there are a couple of them. If a married couple comes for a reading, for example, it's best to read for only one of them because, for one thing, they may not feel they can speak in front of their partner. You don't know what their marriage is like. But the other one is if two people are really close, you can give you can give the right message to the wrong person. I mean, two sisters who are best friends can get each other's messages, and hopefully they'll notice it. And I've known that to happen. Um, People who are tightly involved with each other, if they're both present, can get each other's messages. If only one is present, that's far less likely to happen.
okay. Well, Renee has said, very interesting. My nephew learned to be a wood sculptor from my father. He's excellent at it. Maybe I will try it. I feel the need to study second degree. So thank you, Renee. And this is a good time to take that up. And Matthew asked us, I have applied for a new job the other day that I haven't heard from yet. I am curious as to what the cards have to say about this.
Okay, let us see.
All righty.
We really are shuffling. It may not look
Yeah.
like it, but we really are. Do you want to go first, or shall I go first?
Oh, I can go first this time. So my first card is the Seven of Swords. So you're in a situation that could be a bit of an uphill battle, but it's possible to win. My next card is the Queen of Swords. Yes, I shuffled this one in. Unless Lord Don has shuffled this card into his deck, he won't be drawing it. Yes, it's me. And this, since I had him draw it, represents someone who has overcome a lot of obstacles. So, you can certainly get it. And here we have the King of Wands. So this represents success. So overall, I'm feeling good about it. I'm thinking you're going to get called back for another interview, or maybe you have to submit work samples or take tests or something, you're going to have to do something else, but stay positive about it. Yes, we've drawn the Seven of Swords before tonight. Lord Don did.
That's true. So my first card is Fortune. And the way that I normally read Fortune is as a gift from fate. So I would say that there may be an element of luck involved here. And I would say that this is a very good first card to start with. The second card is the Hermit. And the Hermit is trusting your own power and ability, not being reliant on outside things. Trust what you know, trust who you are. And our third card is the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is prosperity, can be a happiness card. She's definitely a good card. So I would say that things look fairly good for this. And fourth card is magic. And so I would say that in addition to everything I just said, also remember you're a magical person. And so do a little magic for the outcome you want. Put it out into the universe. Make it what you desire. And that would be what I would recommend.
All right. And Renee says, thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Renee would remember when I did not have gray hair. And I see that Bowen has asked if we can draw a few cards around a health situation for someone in their family.
All right. We can do that.
And of course, we want to do the obligatory "we are not doctors" thing.
So
we're speaking of the general situation.
Although when people post on Facebook their wounds and ask if we think it's infected, I will say I am not a medical person, but I am a mother, a grandmother, and an aunt. Based on that, yes, it looks infected. Why is this the new normal? Okay.
Do you want to go first, or shall I go first?
You can go first. I think I did last time.
So the first card I've drawn is the Seven of Pentacles. And you can see this is the person who is deep in thought, arguably kind of pretty isolated looking, very much looking inside. And I would say that for the person that we are asking about, that's kind of where they're at. They're assessing everything. They're assessing themselves. They're assessing their life. And I'm going to draw another card to go with that. I've drawn the Fortune card. And I would say that in assessing themselves, they also are being assisted by fate, their spirit guides, deity, however you want to look at the higher power. And that they're kind of being led through a period of greater self-knowledge that might have to do with the characteristics of their life. It may have to do with their future. I don't really know because I don't really know who the person is. Exactly what they're seeing is hard to say, but it's self-assessment, assessment of who they are and where they're going. And with that, we have the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords indicates a decision, and I would say that this person is uncertain at this moment of exactly what they want to happen in the situation. That they're, again, still assessing things. Maybe they want to go forward, maybe they don't. Maybe everything is good, maybe everything is too difficult. They don't know yet. They're still looking. Third card is the Nine of Wands, which says it's going to take a while. They're kind of in between. You can see the person in the card is in a jail cell looking at the window. And this person, a jail cell is probably a little too harsh to put it that way, but they're kind of in an isolated place, looking at themselves, considering themselves. And I also drew the Two of Wands, which is new directions. And whatever else is going on in this situation, what has already been will not continue. It may continue for a little while, but new things must come into the situation. Depending on exactly what the health situation is, that could say that when this person feels better, you're going to find them doing new things. Or it could mean that they need to look at new treatment ideas. But new things are important in the situation. I'm going to draw one more. I say that. We'll see. I've drawn the Eight of Cups. And as you can see in the card, the Eight of Cups is a man who's being terrified by phantoms. And the way that I will interpret this in this question is that concern in this situation, worry in this situation may be more than is needed. The phantoms are merely phantoms. And again, not knowing the exact situation, not speaking to the health situations, but speaking to the overall situations, I think the person's in a better place than they're being given credit for. But it is a place coming up on change, a place where they really have to look at themselves. So without knowing the specifics of the situation, there you go. Mary, it's your turn.
All right. So I'm starting out with the Four of Pentacles, which is indicating material prosperity. And in light of the other cards I've got, a real focus on the material plane. I'll explain in a second. Then look, I have the Seven of Pentacles. So we are at someone who is in deep contemplation. And then I have the veil. So in this case, your relative is trying to look beyond the veil, trying to understand something they don't see clearly. And so, while I usually leave it to Lord Don, I pulled one more card. And I came up with the Ace of Lamps, which is all about focusing on spiritual matters. So, what I'm sensing is the person you're speaking about has not had very much interest in spiritual matters up until now, and something is causing that focus to shift. And you're going to see a new direction in their life. So I hope that helps. And hello to Ed. Hello to Lori. Matthew, you are welcome. Renee does remember you without gray hair. All right.
It's hard to believe my hair was once dark.
And Sage has asked for a message from their ancestors.
Okay. Oh, they're jumping out.
Ah, we got jumpers now.
And it's a card that makes sense. When cards jump out while you're shuffling, it means they specifically and especially want to be seen.
I'm not getting jumpers yet. But I'm staying right over my desk in case I do.
Yes.
All right.
So do you want to start?
I will start. So my first card is the Two of Wands. And this is about taking some advice from someone, possibly from someone who is more experienced or in a better position from you. Next, we've got the Lovers, and this is about a choice to be made, not quite likely between two equally desirable things, but you are going to have to decide what you want. And finally, I've got the Prince of Pentacles. And so this is about working with things on the material plane. And my sense here is things might be moving a little slow, but they are going to accelerate for you in the near future. So that is what I've got for you, Sage.
And this is what I have. The card that jumped was the Five of Lamps. The Five of Lamps is a personal quest to find yourself, to find purpose, sometimes simply to find an answer. But you're going to find yourself, and probably already are, seeking a solution to a situation. And that situation appears to be a choice. And I drew these three cards, but I'm going to explain them out of order. The King of Wands is passion. So whatever that central situation is you feel very passionately about, but what to do about it is the question. And I would say either you're already in this or you're about to be in it. And the two options are the Prince of Swords and the Princess of Coins. And I want to call your attention to the fact that the three cards I drew are all court cards, which is somewhat unusual. Not as powerful as if they were all major arcana, but it says there's a lot of energy in this. And the difference between these cards, the Prince of Swords, is going forward, going for what you want, keeping your eye on your own interests, and getting what you want. It is a card of action. It is a card of doing. The Princess of Coins is a card that says that you have everything you need to do what you want, but part of you is holding back. So I think what you're going to find is that you're really ready to do what you need to do, but part of you is holding back. And there's a great deal of passion involved, and you should simply stop holding back. But it may take you a little while to fully realize how to go forward, because we do have that questing card at the start. But what I would say is that you're going to be torn between, do I do it or do I not do it? And I'm inclined to say you should do it. I'm just going to draw one more card because, I always do. And I've drawn temperance, also called alchemy. And what that means is creating something new out of what's already there. So if you move forward with this, you will be creating new things um, from your existing situation. It isn't that it's anything new coming in, it's that you're creating it in a new way from what is already there. And temperance also has that aspect of choice about it also, because if you look at the picture, you'll see that the figure is both male and female, that there is a dragon versus a goose. There's the sun and the moon. And in the figure's hands is an egg, which is cracking, but what's in the egg? Is it the dragon or the goose? And that's kind of where you're at. You're making your choice. You're on the cusp of your choice. You can have, um, I would say, you can have whatever you truly choose, but which one is it going to be? And again, I would say choose to go forward and do what it is that you're looking at. And that's what I've got.
And I hope you find that helpful. So, hey, Phoenix, I'm glad you love the Tarot of Hecate.
Hello, Phoenix. Hello, Lori. Hello, Diane.
All right.
Hello, all the people I didn't see come in.
Bowen says, all spot on. The health issue is beginning and the testing is coming. The person is worried about ancestors' past medical history and is seeing
Yep.
phantoms without any testing being done. And we've been talking about ancestors and spirituality lately. All
I'm a
right.
great believer in always looking at the positive because we're magical people.
Yes. Kathy, we have not gotten to your question yet. So next up is Blair.
Ah,
And Blair asks, is my mentor at work taking advantage of me?
I don't know if I need cards for this, but I will draw them because I'm dutiful. And I'm here to draw cards.
Yeah. Reminds me.
But the energy is all over this stuff.
I know. A friend of mine told me about working a psychic hotline and saying she didn't have to pull cards often because the question would be something like, I've been engaged to my fiance for 3 years. Is he going to leave his wife and set a date for our wedding this year?
And you know, it's interesting when you get the same cards in totally different readings.
It really is. It's your turn to go first.
Well, the first thing I would say, when I first heard this question, my feeling was not good. But the cards I've drawn are good. And so I'm going to say my first answer to this is no, I don't necessarily think that the mentor is taking advantage. And our first card is the Two of Coins, Two of Pentacles, which basically is mentorship, followed by Heart, which says there's a lot of emotion involved in the situation, and the Empress, which is a good positive outcome. So I'm kind of inclined to say that the mentor is not so bad. I'm going to draw another couple of cards, however. I've drawn the Three of Cups and the Hermit again. And the Hermit says, you have the strength that you need to deal with the situation, trust your own skills. Regardless of whether the mentor is or is not acting properly, trust yourself more than the mentor. And the Three of Cups The Three of Cups is celebration and community. So I think that actually, if you stick with it, you'll be happy with the outcome. Which actually is not what I was expecting to see, but it's what they tell me. And it's your turn.
It's my turn. And
Unless we want me to draw one more, which we don't.
and sometimes the cards decide you don't need an answer to that question. Or when you've got two readers, maybe it's Reverend Don's got that. So I've got the Ace of Lamps here. So this is saying you need to focus on your spirituality, or you're at the start of a spiritual quest. Then I've got the Universe, which basically says you can have it all. And it can also represent the end of a cycle. And then I've got the Five of Wands, which indicates some form of conflict. So maybe you are going to come into conflict with your mentor. So now I'm going to draw one more card. And I've got the Moon. This is a card about spirituality again. And so when there is a form of conflict, you will need to work through it spiritually or magically. And again, I don't think this relates to your situation at work. I think you got your answer on this, and your guides are saying, you got that. Now there's something else you need to pay attention to. So I hope that helps. And let's see here. All right. Sage says, thank you both so much. Sarah Moonchild says, hello, Reverend Don and Reverend Mary. Blessed be. Hello, Sarah. Phoenix says, I love y'all both also. Well, I love you too, Phoenix.
And me as well.
And Phoenix says, pronoia, it is what it is, and it's for the best. Sarah says, hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing great. And Phoenix says, I don't know that I need cards for this. I was just thinking the exact same thing. Sarah wants to know what deck is each of your favorites. And Blair says, thank you very much. Well, I'll tell you, Sarah, the Infinite Tarot here has made it clear it is supposed to be my major deck. It hid all my other decks from me for quite a while. Hid them behind a rather heavy piece of furniture, actually.
I remember that saga.
Yes. I was not even comfortable reading for other people with it yet when it did that.
But it said it's time. They will do that to you.
Okay. Now we're up to Aradea May, who says, I lost my job last week. I could use a card or two as to the job prospect I'm currently playing with in my head.
Okay. And the cards are just jumping.
Do you have another jumper?
I did.
I have not had a jumper yet. All right. What do we do when a whole bunch of them just jump?
Well, that depends. If it's 50 of them, then that's just an accident.
Yeah.
But so far, I've had 2 out of the 3 I plan to draw jump out of the deck.
Yeah. That's too many. Okay.
And the last one I actually have to draw. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
So the first card that jumped out of the deck is the Seven of Lamps, and it has to do with cleansing. It has to do with releasing. It has to do with renewal. And so I would say the situation you're in is going to involve releasing perhaps things that you anticipated. Perhaps it's just letting go of energy, of past energy, in order to receive the new. With it is the Ace of Coins that also jumped out, which is prosperity and money. And looking at these two, I would say that the job prospect that you're toying with in your head is probably a pretty good prospect. Third card is the Princess of Wands, which says not quite ready yet, but a good situation. So there's still more that needs to be done with it, but it looks pretty good. I'm going to draw another card because, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've drawn the Empress, which, you can hardly do better than the Empress. So I would say absolutely you should pursue whatever it is that you're looking at. Just understand it's not completely come together yet, and there's a little bit more that needs to be found. I'm going to draw one more. Same reason as before. And I've drawn the Mind. And we haven't drawn that one tonight. And it basically says, think it through. Look at everything that's involved. Make sure you've covered all your bases. But within that context, it looks great, actually. I think it looks very good. So that's what I would say.
And the first card I drew was the Mind. This is almost getting silly. So think it through. And then I've got the Princess of Pentacles, who's come up before. And so you've got the resources you need. You may be holding back a little. And finally, we've got the Star, or the Stars. And so this is another one about going to Spirit. So you can take spiritual advice on this, Aradea May. But ultimately, I think your prospects here are good. So I hope that
And
helps.
I totally agree.
Let's see what we've got in chat. And Blair says, thank you. And Aradea May says, leave it to the spirits to be playful with me. They tend to do that when I do readings on my own.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So where are we now? We are at Kathy, who wants to know what her spirit guides or ancestors have to say to her. All righty. So since we are coming up on 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock or some o'clock, wherever you are, I'm going to say...
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Sarah's Moonchild's question will be the last one we take for the evening, and it's still going to put us over our usual hour. And I have a jumper.
Mm-hmm.
It was bound to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go first,
Yeah.
or shall I go first?
I'll go. All right. So our jumper was the King of Cups. So this is about emotions and being in control of your emotions. There's a lot of emotion in your situation, but you need to be in control of it. Next, we've got the Four of Swords. And this is a card about resting. So you've got a situation where you need to rest yourself, or you need to just step back and let the situation develop. And finally, we have death. And of course, this is not physical death, but it is talking about death and rebirth. So you are in the process of becoming, is really what I'm getting here. You are making some very deep changes, and you are in the process. There's a snake in this card, and snakes grow their entire lives. They shed their skins. That's why I wear a snake ring, to remind myself that we need to always be willing to grow, shed our skins, and leave what no longer serves us behind. So this is what you're in the process of doing. And you are transforming into a better version of yourself at this point. And it's your turn now.
Now, the first card that I got was the Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles is prosperity, the happiness that can come from prosperity, being in a good position, and not only a good position for yourself, but enough that you can also share it with others. So it's being in a good, strong, prosperous position. It's followed by the Ace of Cups, which is happiness. And I would say that these are the things really that are there for you. They may or may not be there now, but they're there. Followed by the Ten of Swords, which, as you can see, is a terribly cheerful card with the little severed head in the middle. But it represents the ending of one cycle, the beginning of another. So back to the snake shedding its skin. What you're going to find is that as you come through that change, there's a great deal of happiness and prosperity there. Last card is the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is the wish card. Now, of course, on one hand, the wish card says be careful what you wish for because you're going to get it. But it also says you can have your heart's desire. So understand there is change happening, but it's leading into a very good situation, and you should rejoice. It will. Other than perhaps the process of change, everything there is great. It looks very positive to me. So I would say also becoming the best version of yourself, becoming the best version of your life. And that's what's happening. Even if it might seem like you're losing your head at the moment.
All right, and let's see what we've got here. And Arda de May says, haha, well, I've got to pick up my new computer that my bestie got for me for one of the job prospects. The others were writing my first book and starting up my psychic business, and everything is aligning just like the cards say. But the biggest thing is I'm holding myself back due to a lack of confidence. Well, quit that.
Yep.
But I don't think I have an excuse anymore with these cards. Also, Lord Don, is the Tarot of Hecate going to be reprinted?
Yes, it is. Later this year. I don't have a date yet, but lots of people are asking, and so yes, we are looking into that at this time.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. All right. What have we got next? That was Kathy. All right. Diane is asking for a general message.
Very good. Do you want to go first?
Sure. And I shuffled in another card from uh, Lord Don offered at one point the opportunity to have your own card drawn as part of the Kickstarter for the Tarot of Hecate, or the Infinite Tarot. And my dear friend Fluffy chose to have the Fluffy card drawn. As you can see, the Fluffy card, the Fluffy wolf, is a minus a foot. And that is Fluffy in real life. He has had to have an amputation for medical reasons, and it has not slowed him down in the least. So this is a card about transformation and overcoming obstacles and continuing with your magical work no matter what seems to come in your way. And next, we have the future. And we're not sure if this is Daedalus or a Charis here. So, the future is in your hands. You can stay at a reasonable height and glide over the ocean, or you can get too close to the sun and fall. The future is truly in your hands. Your success or failure is up to you. And finally, we have the Six of Swords. And here we have got cooperation. So, whatever you're working on, you need to be cooperating with other people. But you are steering your own fate, and you have the ability to overcome whatever is in your way. And I'll turn it over to you now.
In a lot of ways, the cards I've drawn say the same thing, but they approach it a little differently. First card is ennui, the Four of Cups, and it's saying there's nothing wrong, but it's maybe not everything you want. May even be everything is right, but not what you want. And so you may feel something is missing, something is desired but not present. And we're followed by the King of Lamps, which has to do with meditation. And it says the answer to what's missing is within. Maybe not even what's missing, maybe it's what's needed, but the answer is within. Follow your guidance. It will take you where you need to go. Followed by the Queen of Wands, which is prosperity, good things, good position. And the Seven of Swords, which says, yeah, you may feel like you're working a little bit to find that, but it's there. And I'm going to draw one more card because I do.
Of course you do.
You may draw more than one. I've drawn the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords The Nine of Swords, it says that what you do not want to happen is likely to happen, but it may not be anywhere near what you expect it to be. It's called the Nightmare card, and what it means is that, like a nightmare, what you're afraid of can't actually hurt you unless you fall out of bed trying to get away from it. Face it head on, you'll find it's an illusion. But do be aware that you may have worry around the situation, you may have fear around the situation, but it's not really necessary. So if, as you're dealing with your ennui, if as you're looking for that which is needed, you find that you have fear, don't let it overcome you, because it is not really necessary. I'm going to draw another card because I'm not going to stop on that one. And I've drawn the Queen of Coins, which again is prosperity, being in a good position. In that sense, very similar to the Queen of Wands, who is just with us. And it's saying that the outcome is great, but you may in the meantime feel like you need to find something, and you may have fear around that for some reason. I'm going to draw another card for the nature of that fear. And I've drawn the King of Cups. The King of Cups usually is love or emotion, but it can also indicate a male romantic interest. It can be a particular person. I don't usually read them that way, though. But it may say that there may be a little bit of a push me, pull you type of thing going on, where you want certain things, but you don't want them at the same time. It could be a little bit of crossed wires. So again, I would say meditation is the way to find the answer. And when you find the answer, everything will be great. So there you go.
Alrighty. And Sarah, we're not forgetting you. Kathy says, perfect. I'm starting to take charge of my life and making decisions. I have been in a low place, but I am now working out of it. Thank you for the encouragement. And Reverend Michael says, Mary and Don had a great show tonight. Bradley is giving us rainbow hearts right back at you.
Very cool.
And our
I like rainbow hearts.
Rainbow hearts are awesome. And let's see here. Lori Blackman has asked us for a general message. Certainly. We can do that for you, sis.
Oh, wow. Well, one of these has come up before, but not for me tonight.
Well, I'll let you go first.
First card is the Eight of Wands, which says things will happen very quickly. Expect things to be happening quickly around you. Make sure you keep your balance. Two of Lamps is trying to decide what to do in the future. Looking into the future, you see the lady scrying in her cauldron. And keep your eye on the future. Two of Swords is an alliance. Another person will be very important to what you do in that future, or a group of people. And your friends and allies are absolutely part and parcel of where things are going. You're not going alone. I'm going to draw one more card.
Of course.
And I have drawn the Tower. And, this was Lady Crystal's favorite card to come up in a reading. She loves the Tower because the Tower means change. Some people think of it in negative terms. She never did, and therefore I never did. If you look at the picture in the card, the soul is freeing itself from the incrustations of its past incarnations. This is saying, do not allow the past to hold you, but become the best that you can be in your future. And so this reading to me is all about moving into the future, not being constrained by things that you've let hold you back in the past, being buoyed by other people, and understanding it may move really fast. I'm going to draw one more because one more. And I've drawn the Queen of Cups, which is the card of happiness and good things. So it's saying you're going to a great place, probably faster than you might have wanted. Don't let that freak you out. And it's all about moving into that future and moving in the strongest way that you can. Your turn.
My first card was the Queen of Cups. So yes, things are moving along very well for you, Lori. Now, the Fool has not come up yet tonight, but clearly you are starting a new cycle, new beginnings, or you've recently started a new venture, perhaps. And then finally, we've got the Five of Pentacles, so your new venture is going to go swimmingly well. And that is what I've got for you.
Wonderful. And I see Fluffy is in the chat room and also loves the tower. Hi, Fluffy.
Hey, Fluffy. I pulled your card tonight. Okay. Fluffy, I'm sorry. We cut off readings before you got in. Pop in next week. Our last reading for the night is going to be for Sarah. And she wants to know what her ancestors have for her today. Ancestors are popular tonight. I just cut the deck and look who popped up.
Why do I feel like I'm playing poker?
I'm sorry?
I feel a little like I'm a poker player arranging my cards and everything. I don't think I have a poker face for this, however.
You do
Other
not.
things, but not for this.
You do not.
Of course, I'm not trying to.
This is true. So the first card I pulled is the Lovers. So you have a choice to make. It could be between two equally desirable things, but you have a choice to make. And we have the Princess of Cups. And so we've got a stasis here. The situation is developing. It's not developed yet. Then we finish up with the Ten of Cups, the happy family card. So things are developing well for you.
Yeah, mine are very similar. First card is magic, the ability to do what you desire, the ability to have what you desire. Very positive card. Followed by the High Priestess, which is listen to your spiritual guidance. We ask for a message from the ancestors. They're saying, listen to us. They're there for you. The guidance is there. Allow it to ease you forward. Four of Wands, achievement of something desired, achievement of a goal. A very positive card, and I drew two more because I had to. The Three of Cups, which is celebration and community, lots of happiness around. And the Three of Swords, which is changes in relationships. So understand there'll be some changes in your relationships, so that they look very positive. Everything in these cards looks positive to me. I'm going to draw one more because,
Mm-hmm.
of course I am. I'm going to draw one more because I did not anticipate that. And one more. So I've drawn the Eight of Swords, the Veil, which in other decks would be called the Devil, and Temperance. And I would take that to mean that the Eight of Swords is feeling held back for some reason, feeling like you don't have the room to maneuver the way you would want to. The Veil is illusion. The Veil is making problems where problems don't exist. So, in keeping with all those positive things, make sure that you're not seeing problems that are not there or limitations that are not really there. If you find yourself feeling limited, I would say it's most likely self-imposed, though, of course, we don't always realize we're doing that. So if you find a limitation, look for how to transcend it. Finally, we have alchemy, temperance. And this, again, is creating new situations from old ones. And so as we look at the magic, the guidance, the success, the changes, that's what's happening. New situations are coming about. It may even be that they seem like they're happening for reasons beyond your control, but they're not. Magically speaking, it's happening from your higher self, from your desire, and it's going to take you to a good place. But you may feel like you're being drug along a little bit here and there. But if you listen to your guidance, I think that will be less the case. So stay open to those ancestral messages, because they definitely are leading you forward, and they will lead you in good ways. And there we go.
All right, and finishing up what we have in the chat. Lori says,
You're very welcome, Sarah.
thank you. Diane says, thank you. Right now in my life, there's not really anything wrong. I have responsibilities to relatives going through difficulties with health, and there is a certain degree of prosperity. I agree meditation will be helpful. You're welcome. And Fluffy says, thank you. Cared Weird says, this has been an astounding last 2 Tarot Thursdays regarding the synchronicities with both readers' cards. Love it. Heather,
That is true.
it has. Heather Lee says, love you guys. Stay strong and walk in your authenticity. Lori says,
Thank you.
LOL, Lord Don. And Sarah says, thank you. And we're rather over for time tonight, but this has been so much fun. And would you
It
close
has
us
been.
out with a prayer, please?
I will certainly do that. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to be with us and to guide us as we go forward. Even as we seek answers through divination, give us answers within ourselves. Help us to know what we need to do and help us to see what we need to know before we need to know it. Guide us, aid us, help us to walk with you, beloved ones. We thank you now and always. May you be blessed. And may you be blessed until next time.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Daily Spell. This is Reverend Mary Hawk and Reverend Don Lewis. And this has been Tarot Thursday.